Adams there. My name is Morning Dave. It's 69 degrees in Sebring. We're going to get up to 91 balmy degrees this afternoon. The advice I always give is this afternoon you want to wear something this morning you can take off this afternoon without getting arrested. You'll thank me for that advice later, I promise.
Advisory services offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Second Half Financial Partners, LLC does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation.
You got it all? Okay, good. Now let's check and see what's happening on Wall Street. Hoo-ha! It was 3 green days in a row. We'll take it happily. Let's see whether or not we can continue the momentum. Phillip Statler from Statler Financial Services in downtown Sebring is on the phone. And boy, you sounded smiley when you picked up the phone this morning, Phillip. 3 in a row will do that to a person, won't it?
It will, Dave, and I wish I could say it looks like maybe we'll follow through with a great week and end up that way today. But I woke up about 5:30 this morning, and that was not the case. It was a mixed bag, and that mixed bag has now gone to pretty much all red. So I'm not holding my breath for us to finish out the week in the green.
Yeah, I'm afraid of that. We ended up with a green day yesterday. Dow was up 1.23% yesterday, up 487 points. That was the smallest gain, largely because IBM ended up getting a sell-off, and we've always talked about how a price-weighted average can really get screwed up by one stock having problems. Last week, Boeing happened to have like an 800-point negative impact on the Dow. This time around, it was IBM. The other indexes both up by more than 2%. The Standard & Poor's was up by 109 points. The NASDAQ exchange was up by 458 points. I don't have the Russell 2000 in front of me, but I checked last night after the close. It was up by about 2% as well. So it was a doggone good day on Wall Street, wasn't it?
It really was, Dave. It was, and that managed to put 3 in a row, which I can't remember. It's been a while since we've had 3 green days in a row.
That's just amazing what happens. I'm really wondering whether the White House has taken a course in messaging 101, because we actually got some halfway organized sounding bits of information. Treasury Secretary Bessent moved the markets positive, hinting that we might have an agreement with South Korea. The Cleveland Fed president said there was a possibility of interest rate cuts when the inflation that we know some of it's going to hit when the tariffs actually end up becoming an impact on the price on the supply chain. Even President Trump was fairly nice when he had a visit with the Norwegian Prime Minister yesterday. Like I said, I'm wondering whether somebody took a course in messaging 101 at the White House.
You know, it's always nice when we have positive things out there. I did see also that, China came out yesterday. We talked about how they said, no, there's nothing, no. But I see messaging coming from the White House again saying, yes, we do have some talks going on, no matter what China's telling you, that there is some things happening, down low, behind the scenes, that nobody seems to be admitting to over in China anyway.
Yeah, and it sounds to me like it's basically desk jockeys in the bowels of both the economic development departments and both Washington and China. But that's kind of where those conversations have to start. Start out with the unranked moles and then work your way up into the people with fancy titles. And it would be a surprise if nobody was talking. So I kind of took China's saying nothing's going on statement as being an indication that, well, yeah, something might be,
something
but we
really
aren't.
is, right?
Yeah, we aren't quite ready to admit it yet. We got moles in the office talking to each other, and that's about it. You came up with something interesting that I didn't catch earlier. Last week, President Trump said, oh, yeah, we're going to exempt some electronic items like cell phones from all of the tariffs coming in out of China. Sounds to me like they're playing about the same card over there, aren't they?
They are. China has come out and, I'm not sure how public this is, but I found an article basically saying that it looks like there's a good chance that China will exempt some things from their tariffs. And so things that are critical to them, like ethane and some other chemicals, medical equipment, are definitely are things that they're looking at, as well as airplane leases, which will help Boeing out.
Absolutely.
They are finding now that because export orders are drying up, they're seeing factories are having to shut down. And the one thing China doesn't want is their people to be unhappy. And if they don't have income coming in, they're not working at the factories. There's a lot of idle time for those folks to get a little unruly and unrest. And so I have to think that that's starting to put some pressure on them.
Culturally and just by government enforcement, the population of China has kind of learned to be somewhat pliable compared to the rabble that we are able to rouse around this country. But your point's taken. The last thing in the world the Chinese government wants is a billion hacked off people.
That's right. Yeah, because that's just not good. Not good for politics at all.
Absolutely, and we do have to keep reminding folks of the fact that the trade war with China right now is being played on a little bit different ground than the trade war with China we had during the first Trump administration. 4 years ago, the Chinese economy was growing by like 10, 12% per year, and they were actually pretty strong. We were able to do some damage to them, but now it's a little bit different. The Chinese economy has been bordering on depression. It's definitely been in recession now for a couple, 3 years, so they're not dealing with the strong deck of cards they had the last time. I mean, we've got our issues as well, but the waiting game may very well have time in our favor in the process. So as the moles at the desks in the economic departments end up talking to each other, there's going to be a little bit more pressure on the Chinese moles than there are on our moles necessary. That's just me going out on a limb and guessing, but I got to assume, as you say, a billion hacked off people is something the government doesn't want, and they're kind of on the ropes to begin with.
They are, and talking about the size of economies, I saw a report that said that California, the state of California, is now the fourth largest economy in the world. They just surpassed Japan by a little bit, and so I give a little there because I'm not so sure with everybody really exiting California. I'd be interested to see what dates they looked at.
No, you can bet your bippy when Gavin Newsom starts running for president, we're going to hear that statistic a whole heck of a lot, aren't we?
Yeah. And then yesterday, after you and I got off the air, the existing home sales reported, and it was a miss. They dropped 5.9% last month. And so that was not good news on the existing home front.
And that's kind of a switch from the other housing information that we'd had earlier, so it's a chink in the armor that we can hope might be a data point. But I do note that the mortgage rates nationally are hovering around 6.8%, and with the sell-off on bonds, they ain't going to go down anytime soon, my guess would be.
No, I don't think so with all we got going on right now.
Absolutely. Other tidbits before we get to the reports that came out. Intel managed to beat the street, but their guidance kind of stunk, and they said that they've got a turnaround plan. And you and I were talking before we went on the air. Who'd have ever thunk that the chip maker that invented the chip that was used in the IBM PC, which basically was the standard for 100 years, or at least since 1982, in every computer on every desktop. Who'd have ever thought that you'd find them on the ropes? The world in high tech changes way too fast, doesn't it?
It does, and it's got them trading down about 7.3% this morning.
Surprises me not a bit. That was just one of the reports that we had out yesterday. The big one came out in a really busy earnings week. Google, how did they do with Alphabet this quarter?
So Google did well, or Alphabet did well. They beat by 80 cents a share, came in at $2.81. Revenue was ahead of expectations by a little over $1 billion as well, and so they're doing okay. They topped the estimates across the board. They're up 3.25 this morning after being up 2.5 yesterday. So a good move for them right now.
Evidently, nobody's worried about the antitrust stuff going on over in Europe about their monopolizing the browser market, huh?
I guess not yet until, it hits the headlines again, and then, they'll take a little hit, I'm sure.
That would be a given.
We talked about a couple of cell phone companies and internet companies. And so we got T-Mobile reported, and they reported fewer first quarter wireless phone subscribers than what was expected. And so that's not been good for them. So that's one of the things that they really look at. Earnings and revenue for the first quarter topped estimates, but again, it's going to be current subscribers that are going to be important for them and new subscribers. So they're trading down 5.7% this morning.
Ouch, and that sounds an awful lot like what we heard from Verizon yesterday, doesn't it?
It does. Yep, they were, and even like Comcast yesterday.
Yep, I'm going to stand on my notion that I'm betting that the big cell phone companies are going to start thinning out those prepaid plans that you don't have a contract with. Something's going to happen soon because, now we're 2 out of 2 saying our postpaid subscribers are losing us, and that doesn't do well for their metrics, does it?
No, it doesn't. And so you're right. I think prepaid helped a lot to get cash flow and gain momentum. But I think you're going to see a lot of them now start to go back to, you got to get on a plan.
Absolutely. And for the sake of public statement, Verizon, you give me a limited data plan, I'll go back to postpaid in 10 seconds. Until then, go fish. What else have we got?
So I got a little here from Skechers. Skechers reported, and they've come out. They beat on expectations, but again, their comment was, quote, macroeconomic uncertainty stemming from global trade policies is going to be an issue for them. And it's got them trading down about 5 1/3% this morning. The last one I have for you is going to be Gilead Science. They're a biopharmaceutical. They're really a popular stock when it comes to that industry.
Heard the name. I just don't remember what they do.
Yeah. So they came in, they beat by a couple cents a share on earnings. Revenue, however, missed by a little bit. And so it's got them trading down about 3% this morning.
All righty, resetting the table for the morning up day yesterday, and a pretty market up day, as a matter of fact. 45 minutes before we open this morning, what are we looking at, sir?
Well, all green. I wish I could say that. All red ink this morning. We've got the Dow down a little over 0.4. The S&P 500 is down 1/3, and the NASDAQ 100 is down about 0.4 as well. The Russell 2000 is down almost 1% this morning. On the other side, we've got silver down 0.8%, gold down 1.3, and then crude oil is down 1.3 as well. You like this number, $61.97 a barrel right now.
I do. I wish I knew why it was doing it. If it's economic projections, I wouldn't be happy. The overseas markets, Asian Rim, somebody must have gotten word out in Japan that we're talking to them because their market was up by 1.9%. Rest of the Asian Rim mostly flat. The mainland Chinese markets, one was up fractionally, one was down fractionally at the close this morning. Over in Europe, everybody's a little bit more optimistic. About halfway through the trading day, European index is up on balance by about 0.5%. So I got good news almost everywhere this morning. Somebody want to find out how to make their retirement plans happen instead of just dreaming about them. That takes an expert pair of eyes. How do I find you to use your eyes, sir?
Dave, that's why I created the Core Retirement Design, to help people design that retirement they always dreamed of. They can give us a call at 863-382-0037 to schedule their core retirement analysis. And then join us this weekend for the Statler Financial Radio Show, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Highlands News Talk, 7:30 a.m. and 95.3 FM.
And we'll be back next week with an update every morning about this time to tell you what's going on with your money. I'll see you next week, my friend. I appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
All right, buddy. You too.
Thank you. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services, Phillip Statler. Surprise parties.
Hey, folks, again, I want to thank you for joining us today. Hope your week's gone well. Have a great weekend. I'll speak to you again next week. Take care.